Hi guys, thank you very much for joining me. Polina here talking to you about the month of September. This is a half an hour report on the common trends during this time. It's a channeled astrology report. I have two charts in front of me, one for the beginning and one for the end of the month. And here I am bringing you some information about the common trends to understand during this particular time. Also, if you're interested in knowing more about your particular sign via the ascendant, the sun, the stellium, or the moon, please check out my Patreon channel, which should have all of them for the month of September. And yes, also, if you'd like to know more about me, please have a look at my website link in the section below, and there should be more available there, including private readings and books and things like that. Okay, so to me, it looks like we are changing perspective during this time. Virgo is the sign before Libra. So it is a sign of predictability in a sense. So before we figure out the proportionality and the weight of things, sometimes we have this very interesting process to undergo. And the process that I believe we are undergoing this month is recognizing new states of matter, realizing new worths and values, recognizing things that have to be fixed and done, and also understanding a new wavelength of what is on offer. So to me, it looks like events might be very different than we expected. The outcome is not as we have previously thought possible. So it peels itself open this month to reveal a new type of neurological sensitivity, which then creates a new karmic slate. So what I mean is, we have a new process in the heart. We have a completely different self-definition as a species and as a whole. And it feels to me that through our own common self-regeneration that we have been able to overcome during this year, we are creating brand new decisions, we're creating brand new laws and brand new mathematics behind certain types of events. So what I mean is, if you previously thought it would take you a year to master something, here we have a very interesting change in proportion. It might just take you a month to master something. If you thought that you were going to get paid a certain amount for a certain task or a job, here you have a completely different evaluation of self and of your skill. So this is going to be very, very peculiar to some people, as expectation and reality are different. We sometimes don't really know what it all means, as life is starting to speak a different language to us. And sometimes the journey that took 1,000 years might be walked in only a few minutes. You see, so we have a very interesting enlightening months actually for quick change and also abbreviation of previous long-winded situations and long-winded karmas. And it takes sometimes only a minute to get to know somebody now instead of a whole life. So there is something very, very unusual happening in terms of proportions, in terms of how life distributes energy, in terms of how money changes hands, also with this Jupiter going direct eventually, and also in terms of what we value in the world. It also feels to me that this is a very critical time to get honest about things. So I believe we as a species are starting to really come to terms, so that messiness and vulgarity that we have previously experienced or emitted is going to start to turn into a more private, a more quiet discourse about things. There is a contracting energy to Virgo always, but during this particular month is going to be more and more so. We have Mercury going from Virgo all the way into beautiful Scorpio during this month. So what I'm feeling is that we're going to really start to know what we know and see what we see, like what we like, and sense what we sense. So it feels to me that we're going to awaken to this very interesting state of divinity, which is perhaps micro or small, innocent, private, secluded, because Virgo will naturally ascend you through contraction. But there's also a likely chance that we're going to just know it in the bottom of our hearts, what we do and do not want to see, how we do and do not want to continue our conduct. And it is a huge wake-up call, I suppose, to many people as to how unsensitive or how unkind we have been, you know, how uneasy we have created ourselves in our lives, how badly we've done. So this is kind of like a reality check, but not just that, it is a pure, innocent, naive, caring feeling that this generates. It is not a big fact. It is not a robust yes or no that we had the opportunity to really feel. It is more than that. It is a very tiny, like tidy, intricate feeling, and also like a fear in a sense of doing badly, or like a fear of taking things the wrong way or steering life in the wrong direction. But in that smallness that Virgo provides, this is safe for now to change, and to change very fast. So, what I'm seeing also possible is large events, large sums of money, large outcomes, large deliberate creations possible in a split second now. So there is this other side to this time as well, as the world speaks to us in very beautiful terms. It is a whisper of a child that I believe the heart generates during this time, in all innocence and all compassion or forgiveness. And then, as soon as that true reality hits the very core of your inner senses, I believe that a lot is possible to create. I believe that there is a very fast result, there is a very quick answer to a prayer. There is a very, very instantaneous understanding that comes through. And that to me is the most exquisite part of this part of the year. This instantaneousness and this quiet knowing that just basically believes things different. And I also trust that with this newfound innocence and naivety that we have generated through Cancer and Leo, I feel that we can really now fully understand and fully regain, you know, and reimagine things. We have a gorgeous trine between the earth signs during this incredible, very lucid, very unusual month. And it feels to me that in this, although it looks very naive and innocent, is a great mystical core. So to me, it looks like a very, very purifying time to just change and to abstain from the previous methods of connection, to try to no longer sit still and wait for things to change, to actually do something about it. It's a very interesting under the surface movement. So, this is a very interesting time to speak to somebody in private, to take someone's time to organize events or to organize certain parts of your story under the radar, to have perhaps a secret meeting, or to start a secretive or a very, very private relationship. So to me, it looks like a very, very perhaps seemingly slightly formal time, but in the same sense, a lot of that which you do here, a lot of the running around, sprucing, changing, tidying, praying, the frequency of change is so strong that even the tiniest gush for change will enable you, I feel, inevitably to reap great results. So that's where you might turn a key, just a little key, and through that little turning of a key comes a big life event. And it also feels to me that there is something else happening on the peripherals and within us the same. There is a need for beauty. There is a need for natural curiosity. There is a need for the fine, for the finessed, and for the well designed. So to me, it looks like we're not just going through a change, we're not just trying to fix whatever we have done or whatever is wrong in the world. We are doing it exquisitely, beautifully. So I believe that whatever changes you are undergoing during this time should perhaps be considered in the most divine sense. And in these changes is an exquisite, probably polar opposite result to what you believed you could attain. So, this exquisite nature of this time to me feels like a huge invitation to massively upgrade through the inner voice, through sensitivity that perhaps only you know how to generate, through the tiny, through the small, through the half spoken word, through the half taken hint, there is a subtlety in the air. And this, I believe, is a new, in a sense, creation, and also a timely collapse. So, this is when we see the overgrown system starting to fall. It is like an overgrown fruit, it is like a very ancient um, dying tree. There are going to be big things falling at a drop of a hat through just one small motion. So, there is a small motion, small, delicate, almost childlike motion needed to collapse a huge, old fashioned, overgrown situation or aspect in reality. So it is as if waving a magical wand, and a huge tree just falls down to the ground. So this is something that we have to consider, the power of the whisper and the power between words, and also the childish sincerity that sometimes cannot find a human way to express itself. And we have to now perhaps know that this is an awakening of the whole system. So I believe this is not just about us as human beings, I believe it is about the whole world and a thorough way of the ecosystem supporting itself through numerous beings. I mean, I don't feel this is just a human thing. I don't believe this is just a social, societal, governmental thing. I trust this is more than that. I believe this is the ecosystem in itself starting to whisper its own name out loud to itself in a new frequency, if that makes any sense. So, this is like an awakening on a mass proportion. I also trust with this earth going through Pisces and touching on beautiful, gorgeous Neptune. It is not going to be easy to withstand the pull of the divine. So that's where words are not spoken. This is where drama is not played out anymore. If you remember hearing me last couple of months, I was trying to help you, I was helping you understanding how to just walk out of drama very fast and how to cut short certain processes and call it quits on massive cycles. We still have some left in us. And the way that I'm seeing it is that it starts to mess us about, it starts to murk us up, and it starts to dirty us, it starts to pollute us more than we usually have known. So any kind of cynicism, any kind of negative sort of a cycle or an ongoing maneuver in life, anything that is really drawn out and obvious is not going to be something easy to just grin and bear with, as Virgo often will pull the weight and pull us out of these messes anyway. We've got to face the messy parts of ourselves and our lives here. And it also feels to me that one of the most vocal parts of this time is an inner prayer. And this is where people just say, I can't do this anymore. Why do I keep on doing this? Like, why am I still in the same mess? Why do I know this is bad for me? And I'm still trying so hard in this direction. Why do I pull so much energy through a negative or a chaotic sequence? How come my soul is generating negative sequences? And we ask so much during this time, and I believe we also have already noticed so much during Leo time, as things were meant to be on the surface and blatantly obvious, especially during a rat year, as rat will bring things up to the surface. It is such a good time for us to just know it now. And yes, ask for help if you like, but also count on completely new ways, totally new ways in which life will sort it out for us. And that is exciting to me. So this is not just about asking mother for money. This is not about telling a friend how you feel and hoping they would sympathize or empathize. It is not any longer about asking for a loan. It is no longer about wanting things to change, going to the doctor's office or anything like that. This is a unique opportunity for keys that you never thought possible, for answers that you never thought would come so fast, and for unlikely people to come in and help you in your world. So, who would have known that, for example, a drama class would help you with your anxiety and not a therapist? Who would have known that that quiet person in the background was the one? Who would have known that that fantastic person with all this glimmer and all these ideas wasn't a rebel? They were just waiting for the opportunity to trust and to feel the trust in them to be able to deliver. So, who would have known? Who would have known? They are unlikely treasures and unlikely people that affect us in different ways. And also, there is this unbeknownst to us glimmer of shyness and magic, which is the most quantum or the most quality essence, imaginable, standing beside us and helping us through. So, this is like having angels in your life. And it also feels to me that this is more than that. This is like the unforeseen circumstance. Who knew that a pregnancy would help someone evolve so much? Who knew that a beautiful friend would help one find all the answers that their parents couldn't find for them or society couldn't find for them? Who knew that a little trip abroad would be life changing? And that's where a tiny dose, a tiny dose can go a long way. And also, we're looking at healing and health as natural part of Virgo is the healing crisis, and I suppose understanding what to do with one's own timeline during a healing process and realizing that for another. If you know yourself enough, you can also help other people. Yes, it is true. Small doses, though. Okay, so we talked about this last month, overbearing energies, overcooking it, overdoing it, overworking it. And Leo and Cancer, especially Leo, were very heavy, and it was probably very obvious time to find out who you were or who you did not want to be anymore through the overbearing energies that sometimes all of us have. Now, the quantum in Virgo at this point is small. Smallness, subtlety has everything. In a little substance, in a little supplement, you might find the way. In just a small experience or seemingly a very formal little relationship or friendship, you might find the way forward. It is kind of unseen or unheard of. Why would such a tiny key turn such a big door, open such a big door? So, the one really welcoming aspect to me in this particular month is seeing the unseen or the previously bypassed. You know, how come, we don't see auras? How come we don't see lights often? Or how come people don't have certain abilities? Is because we are too grand and we bypass the illuminations that are always taking place within any space. We don't want the quantum state, we want it all, we want it now, and that is the greed for life, that's a hunger, that's a density that we are in, and for a good reason, as it helps us perhaps survive or learn about ourselves more and learn more about the world. But during this particular time, wake up if you can, if you are available to seeing or sensing more. There is a psychic element to any month, of course, but there are going to be much better chances and much safer spaces for these things during this time and this year, actually. So, if you're interested in starting up with any kind of unusual skill or understanding, if you want to evolve the way that you perceive or the way that you express or the way that you feel, it is one of the grandest months of all, however small the pursuits of the people, or however tiny the spectrum during this time, as it is going to give you absolute worth, even in the smallest perspective shift. If you want to learn something fast, if you want to become an astrologer, if you want to learn about esoterics, if you want to learn more about how you are what you are doing here, how you speak, how you work with your guides. It's a fantastic time to contain yourself for a while if you would like, if it's all a bit too frugal or too dainty for you, and start research. Also, an incredible time for detail, incredible time for might that comes out of detail. Sometimes we have a little splinter we don't know about. Sometimes removing a tiny little splinter or working out the details of your world will heal you so much that you can really go full throttle ahead into the next few years with a huge boost of confidence and might if you can take care of smaller things. Also, for other people, maybe it is about children or it is about the way that they spend their time or their money. Maybe it is about formal or practical things. Perhaps there is no time for inner development yet, or there never has been. And that is also fine for you if you would prefer to explore this momentum with practical or really straightforward things, because that always works in a Virgo month. What more to say? We do have two incredible moons as usual. So on the second, we have a beautiful, luscious full moon in Pisces. And of course, on the 17th, we have a new moon in the tail end of Virgo. There has to be a picture painted, okay? So we have a very, very luscious ending of the month, which brings us into Libra, and that painting we have to know and understand as ours. A little bit here, a little bit there, a little work on yourself, a little help for another, a little sprucing, a little tidying, a little praying, a little talking to the right people at the right time, a little scurry, a little undercurrent of maybe worry also, which is fine. Worry or desire to solve, desire to untie previous knots. And you might just be able to really futurize, I would like to say, or evolve your timeline. So if you have been proactive during this time, if you have been sensitive to the world, if you have walked into a very open place where you can fully perceive, feel, and understand, and you can work with your life as it is now and all its fractals without turning a blind eye, without putting your head in the sand. If you can face the different truths and also the different symptoms in terms of health and the different ruckus parts or the different chaotic pieces of your life, if you are able to face them in a subtle, gentle way, and if you can diffuse as many different conflicts and contracts also that you don't have to have anymore, I trust that by the end of the month you will have a gorgeous picture. By the beginning of October, you can already have a very beautiful place of solidity. And it also feels to me that many of us are going to thoroughly embed ourselves in new dimensions. It's where life feels like a dream, or there is a new type of clarity to your dream sequence, or there is a meaning behind it all that is more romantic or emotional. So you're not just plugging in. And I talked about this a couple of months ago, actually, plugging into another person's story, plugging into work you don't have to do, plugging into drama that you don't have to suffer. There is something else happening. We are choosing life. We are choosing the sensitive moment of connection. We are beginning to understand the art of the world, the creative aspects of our unity with spirit, and also the curiosity that life should evolve or evoke. We must now handle that with care also. We are maybe few, but there are people that are crossing to a different dimensional state. So that's where current events are no longer seen. They're not visible. This is where dramatic outcomes are not looked for. Giant sums of money or big robust gains are no longer fashionable. That's where we're kind of going. So this is more about the era of enlightenment walking up quite a significant step. We see a change. And I believe that for quite a few of us, there's going to be a new neurological container. So the way that the senses work, this is where psychic studies is very, very helpful as well. How the senses perceive what you're doing, how you're doing it, where you're going, and how you master yourself as a human is never gonna happen the same. So many of the people that I know are already not gonna be able to fit the previous portals. We're not gonna be available to the previous people or the previous sense of self, the previous joys. This is going to be, I feel, quite awkward for some, as there is a new color scheme or a new palette for environments, for relationships, for the dance with life. And it is all kind of ending and beginning at the same time in these very quantum ways during September time and also October if you're ready. But if you are definite only about the thing that you think you are, and you feel that you want and you need, and this is not good and that is not good, if you are heavy and dense, October is going to bring for you a very big change. So I already talked about this back in August and July. We have to get rid of our patterns and we have to destroy a few faces that we've created and the different masks that we believe are taking us into a greatness. Like, say, without the submissive housewife mask, who am I? Without the flirtatious girl that I am sometimes, who am I? Without the stern and robust know it all, who am I? Without the political argument, what am I going to say? Like, without this sticky essence, this sticky personality that seems to work for everybody, who am I going to be? How am I going to survive? And I'd like you to also notice that we're going as a species from states of survival and function. And through those states, we're coming out of the state of being plugged in and somehow enslaved by a situational mentality or a place. And also, we are coming out of it so fast during this time that it can make our heads spin. And some people have Stockholm syndrome and they want to go back to the warmth of captivity. And I've already seen this is a factor in me as well. In the last month and a half, I wished to revive previous relationships or previous states, but they're no longer on the menu. So we're like at a restaurant of life and we're arguing with the waiter saying, but I was here last month and this was available. And the waiter says, sorry, we don't have the ingredients for that anymore. This is off the menu. And we are saying, why? It just is. And for many people, there can be a sense of loss. And as I outlined earlier, rat year will sometimes create a pocket of deceit, like a feeling of emptiness or loneliness or longing, because we're meant to, for some people, use it as a magnet to attract and attain, or to still kind of use that light and that force to beg life to help, or to bring in more, or to bring in alternate outcome. And that pocket of loneliness, or that interest in certain things, or that longing, can be now transcended and ascended past. So if you don't have any masks, and you now understand that you're not working as a plug-in in anybody's story, so you're not a battery for anybody else's experience, you're not working with any energetic pendulums, meaning you're not plugged in and giving your energy to any story on a global or personal scale. And you're now understanding that you don't have any lack, and that you're not working with lack or loss or malfunction, and you're not any longer interested in trauma states. This is rare, but it does happen. And if you are no longer wiser through hardship, and if you're no longer choosing what is hard and heavy and dense, and you are longing for a more lucid, sort of more free, more naturally sequential outcome, which is organizing itself in a brand new, powerful, updated way, and you are letting life happen in a different quality. You are embracing the different quantums of time. And if you are saying yes to the difference between the old and the new, and you are letting innovation or innovative behavior to take place and to take space, perhaps that anger is no longer be helpful for you, is not going to be helpful for you anymore. So like sometimes people use anger, aggression, density, failure, regret as a kind of a mechanism to know better, to learn, to understand, to no longer do things again in the same way, to seek better outcomes. Sometimes some of us have been using anger, aggression, sadness, disappointment to try and walk out of the previous states, or to try and understand who we are, or at least kind of sort of halfway peek into what we would actually want as a soul. Through contrast, we'll say what it would like better anyway. It would always state, but I don't want this, but I want that. And that's where ego is. And also I trust that very many people are already starting to walk past it. It's almost like a store they don't want to look inside. It's kind of like a movie, the poster of which is clear enough. It's like you don't have to buy the newspaper because you can already see the headlines, and that is okay. So I suppose one of the wisest things during this month is just to get over it, and also don't try to make things too robotic or too mathematical for yourself. There is a time for that, and sometimes nature changes its feelings almost, or changes its unseen connection to itself so much that the previous robustness, or the previous scope of what is and what isn't, and what does and what doesn't fit, no longer fits with us. So we have to leave space and be in significant purity to let life do it for us sometimes, and also keep an eye out for unforeseen unusual results, unforeseen people, unforeseen outcomes, and just different type of laws and sets of rules or sets of skills that you didn't before previously expect. So beyond the expected, beyond the calculated, beyond the rough, beyond the strong. Then later, maybe you will see this month as a certain type of resurfacing of what was. It's as if we had a diamond underneath all along, and it was just basically going for a resurfacing stage. And you will see how maybe the past few years have generated some of these momentums that are brand new and crisp to us now. So thank you very much. I will now go on to filming another 12 videos for all signs. If you'd like to take a look at these, they will be on Patreon very soon, or they are already. All the links are in the caption section below. Thank you very much. Also, I'm starting to write the new almanac for 2021. This one will be out soon, so I create a manual for the year, an astrological manual with lots of predictions and hints. If you're interested, I will be publishing one probably in October or November, so this is coming up soon, very exciting. And yes, thank you very much, enjoy, and I will see you next time. Bye.